Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Overtime as we have now concluded week 3, and now we're going to introduce week 4. Again, another great week of high school football. Last weekend, of course, enjoyed all the games. Our game to watch wasn't as close as we thought. Two of the top teams in the state of South Carolina, but it was Dutch Fork with a huge win. And, of course, our Spring Valley Northeast, a rivalry game, Jim. Spring Valley looked very good last week. But just overall, your thoughts of in the Midlands high school games, some pretty good games.
There were some good games. I think the Dutch Fork game is the one that's on everybody's mind. Dutch Fork coming back from Texas from not a beating, but a loss to Allen, Texas, and taking on a pretty good Boiling Springs team. They were number 5 in the AP poll. They were number 12 in the scvarsity.com poll. So a very good football team. And Dutch Fork started out with a bang, forcing turnovers in the first quarter and going up big. I think it was 37-0 at one point in the first quarter, and just never looking back. And that kind of, those things happen in a football game. It's very difficult to recover from.
Well, when you give up 60 points, I mean, to a team that's, I don't care if you're top 10, top 15, you expect at least a little bit of defense. But Dutch Fork is not one of those spread you out, throw the ball all over the place, Jim, and to score 60 points with that somewhat pro style of offense approach, pretty good.
Yeah, and they do it in multiple ways. I mean, they can run the ball with Matt Colburn. They throw the ball. I think Tate Fant's developing into a really good quarterback, and you've got guys like Will Sweeper and Alec DeBoer who are developing into outstanding receivers, and they play well on defense too. I mean, forcing turnovers and actually scoring on special teams.
You know, I was reading one of your articles. You were talking about Coach Knott's building a dynasty of a high school football team. He did it at Independence High School up in Charlotte. We know the teams he had, the players that he had with that program. But now that you see how Dutch Fork is shaping up, they won the state last year. They was in it 2 years ago, lost it, and I expect them to be there a third time because right now, as it looks, I don't think there's anybody going to be able to slow them down.
No, I don't see anybody on the schedule that's going to slow them down. I don't see anybody in the state right now that could beat them. And we were talking a little bit off the air. The type of team is going to take to slow Dutch Fork down is a team that can run the football. If you can't run the football, you're not going to be able to keep Matt Colburn off the field, and you've got to be able to keep him off the field if you're going to score against Dutch Fork. And right now, Goose Creek was the only team that runs that type of offense that I felt could compete with Dutch Fork. They did it last year. Problem is their starting quarterback went out with an ACL injury right before the season started, and they're a different football team without him. I mean, he was one of the most important players in the state.
Well, one thing last year when I was coaching out at Spring Valley with Miles Aldridge, one of the things we thought about this game we played them, exactly what you're saying. If we can run the football, we can control the clock, somewhat play keep away, we could win that ball game. And we thought that we could get to Burns. Burns want to throw it all over the place, no defense, and do exactly what Dutch Fork did last year. They went up there and got a win. That's the recipe to beating Dutch Fork. Run the football, solid defense. But right now, as you look around the Midlands, two teams I'm going to say, Jim, that I think might can compete if they get better down the road. One is Westwood, and number 2 would be Spring Valley that runs the ball and try to play solid defense.
Well, Spring Valley plays good enough defense to compete with them. I don't know that their offense is anywhere near where it needs to be. It's certainly not where it was at last year. And they're not as diversified as they are on offense as they were last year. They're going to have to throw the football some to be able to move the chains. And they certainly run the ball well, and Robin Bacon does a great job as offensive coordinator over there. Westwood is a team that I think probably has the best defense in the Midlands and one of the best defenses in the state. The problem is their offense is nowhere near where their defense is, and they run an offense that's going to be punting the ball a good bit during the game because they're not going to move the chains as often as some of these other teams. And when you punt the ball to Dutch Fork, you're putting that explosive offense back on the field.
Yeah, you know, it's going to take a special performance, no doubt, to beat Dutch Fork. He's scoring those types of points, and you mentioned, I alluded to, they have the defense now that I think has improved. But, you know, this is a team that can continue to get better and better. But, you know, who knows down the road? You never know. These are 17, 18, 16-year-old kids that sometimes don't wake up on the right side of the bed, Jim. But when you look at Dutch Fork and you look at what they're doing, you got to be really impressed with Coach Knotts is doing with this program because it's pretty special.
Yeah, and I said earlier this week, I wrote an article in the state paper for MidlandsPreps.com, and it was that Dutch Fork is headed towards a dynasty. If they can keep Tom Knotts there, then this is a team that could be the next football dynasty in the state. You know, you think about the Gaffneys and the Rock Hills, and certainly Burns is what they've done over the last decade. Dutch Fork is the next team.
What about a team like Sumter? I mean, Sumter is impressive. Reggie Kennedy left that team, came here to Irmo. They're 0-3 right now, but the team at Sumter was pretty good. They went to the state and played that Fork last year. Is Sumter a team that maybe we're not giving enough street credit, as I should say? But this team looks pretty good.
Sumter looks good this year. As a matter of fact, I think I said last week, I think this Sumter team may turn out to be better than last year's team that made it to the state championship game. They run the ball really well. They've got experience at quarterback. They play pretty good defense. Now, they're going to get challenged this week. You know, their only loss so far was to York, who is just a dynamite football team right now. But they're going to play Rock Hill this week, and I think Rock Hill may be one of the most improved teams in the state. I think Sumter's going to be the favorite going into that game, but Rock Hill's going to pose a challenge for them.
Are we discounting a couple other teams here before we keep moving? Lexington, Blythewood, they both have squared off. Blythewood looked pretty bad at Lexington a week or so ago, didn't play well. Lexington went down to Wando. You used to call it an upset. Right? You said it was an upset.
Well, I think on paper it's an upset, but if you look at Lexington's situation last week, they were missing 2 of their starting defensive linemen. Coach Stepp had sat one of his key offensive players, maybe their best offensive player in terms of playmaker ability. And so going into the game with those players, I think it would have been an upset. Without those players, probably an evenly matched game, maybe even giving Wando the edge. And but the loss is a bad loss. I don't think Wando is a very good football team right now, and this loss to Wando it really hurts Lexington. And they've got a big game coming up this week. It's not going to be any easier. This defense they're facing this week will be the best defense they've seen yet.
Yeah. So, well, you know what? You never know. That's why we love high school football. Well, we got this game coming up, our game to watch of the week. And yes, this team has been one of my favorites all year long. Coach Sharpia and those cats over in Brooklyn Casey, they take on Chapin. Chapin got a brand new scoreboard, I heard. Video board, man. Boy, they've got some good boosters out there. But that's our game to watch. Chapin, BC. We'll break it down just after this break. All right, welcome back to Overtime. And of course, I tell you what, we've had some great games to watch. They've all been very good, even though some of them have been a little lopsided. That's okay, but the teams we've picked have been generally pretty good. And I think this week will not disappoint. BC and Chapin. And BC has been my surprise team. Jim, one of 2, them in Westwood. But BC, Coach Sharpie has done an excellent job. He talked about notoriety, building that brand back at BC. And over time, he's done just that.
He has 4th year, and he's got him in the playoffs twice already, and they're 3-0 right now. And this is a team that's, I've got them in my top 5. Moved them up a little bit this week in the Midlands top 5, and this is a big game for them. Chapin is a team, when you look at them on paper, they actually match up probably better with BC than anyone that they've faced yet. But this is going to be a great game, and of course it's at Chapin. Chapin got their first taste of defeat last week against Newberry. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting game and tough game, and I think Coach Sharpie attested to that this week.
Well, I guess if you're a BC, you got to be on the lookout. As you said, they lost last week to Newberry. They're going to be hungry. They got the new video board at Chapin, so they had the Hall of Fame a few weeks ago. A lot of good things going on down at Chapin High School. But I tell you what, this BC team, good on offense, good size up front, and boy, they got some guys on the defensive side of the ball like to go get it.
And they're going to need it. I mean, on defense, Logan Bailey for Chapin likes to run the football, their quarterback. So the linebackers in this game are going to be important. Keyshawn James, Marquise Nabinett, Brett Ebner, the linebackers for Brooklyn Casey had a big task this week, and that's slowing down Logan Bailey.
Well, Coach Sharpia knows that this is a challenge, of course, but this team is undefeated, doing a lot of good things. As I like to say, here's the coach.
Well, we feel pretty good about it. It gave us an opportunity to heal some people up. Of course, you worry, that week off could, sort of kill your mojo. So I think every coach is always worried, is there a plus or minus? I wish the 3A would do what I've been trying to get them to do for the last 3 years, get 11 games like 4A, and we wouldn't have this off week. But unfortunately, we do. But we tried to take advantage of it and work on some small things that maybe you don't get because we had a little more time that you don't usually get to do during the week.
Well, the bye week definitely can be a bomber if you're playing as well as BC was playing, and you're facing a good Chapin team. You probably like that thing to keep rolling. But again, coaches know how to handle that. They keep working, try to keep that tempo up. I still think BC will play very well. Now, on the other side, Coach Justin Gentry and this team coming off a loss at Newberry, knowing that he's facing a tough team, Jim, in BC. They're 3-1, nothing to hold your head down about, but they got some players as well.
They do. Logan Bailey, a quarterback, obviously one of the better quarterbacks, one of the better playmakers in the Midlands area anyway. He's great running the football, and BC's going to have a task stopping him. I think one of the things about Logan, you look at what he's done so far. 2 weeks ago in Swansea, scored all 5 touchdowns, had a big part in the Newberry game last week, even though they lost. And he's got some good players around him. I like the tight end, a sophomore tight end, and Will Register. They play him both ways on the defensive side of the ball as well. Right. And I think Will Register is going to be a big-time prospect when he gets to be a senior.
Well, you can see they do it all over the place. He runs and they throw a lot of play-action passes and a lot of neat things like that. But I like this matchup. I really do. Again, BC, it's impressive to me what they've done. I've spent some time out there with Coach Sharpie, watched the guys. I've talked to some guys. Day is one of my favorite players. I like the name they call him.
Day Amaker.
Day Amaker is a really good player, good receiver, a playmaker. They got to find a way to slow him down. But let's go and talk to Coach Gentry to see what he has to say about this game.
Brooklyn Casey's a very well-coached team. Their defensive front's probably as good as we're going to face this year, and they do a heck of a job over there. But we went to their place last year, the last game in the cage, and they embarrassed us. They got us pretty good right there, and so we're preaching that this week, putting little reminders and feelers out with our guys, and they get to come here. We're going to have our new facility hopefully up and running in full force on Friday night, and look for it to be a good ball game.
Looking for a little bit of payback. A little bit of payback. He said they embarrassed us last year. We're going to get them back. Well, maybe the weather will help them out. I don't know, rain, sleet, snow, whatever. Let's toss it over to you. No, it's not Henry the Pretty Boy. It's Dana Fulton, one of our new members, one of our new teammates here at WACH Fox. What's the weather going to be like Chapin and BC? Dana, I'm tossing it to you.
I've got good news for everybody, really. No rain, sleet, snow expected for tomorrow. I'm going to call this perfect football weather. Mostly sunny tomorrow afternoon. A high of 82 degrees expected. On my muggy scale, or my outdoor scale here, a 7 for tomorrow. Pretty darn perfect for tomorrow afternoon. Mostly sunny sky, will be in the low 80s. Moderate humidity, not too bad of a deal. Moving through early on tomorrow, no rain in our forecast. Clear sky expected for us. We get into later on tomorrow, 5 o'clock, getting ready for that game. Things still pretty clear out there throughout the rest of the evening. During game time, some clouds coming through later on tonight, but we will stay dry, and that's what matters. Again, the game to watch, BC against Chapin. Kickoff set at 6:30. Around that time, we'll be in the low 70s, partly cloudy. A very comfortable night. Good football weather, guys. I think I can handle this. Corey, no snow, no sleet, nothing. It's mid-September. We don't have to worry about that quite yet.
It's great football here in South Carolina, Dana. Thank you so much. And that game is 7:30. And she's an Oregon girl, so her time's still a little messed up. Just saying. All right, we got to go to break. We come back. Our player of the week and band and cheerleaders. We got you next. That's after the timeout. As overtime rolls on. All right, welcome back to Overtime, and now it's time to celebrate some other folks that are very instrumental in Friday Night Football. And the band, we're going to take it out to Irmo. The sounds of Irmo in that beautiful stadium out there. They are our featured band of the week. Love the sound of the band. Can you believe it? I played the trombone in the band. And I remember one game that I actually went out at halftime and played the trombone. Now it's time to celebrate our cheerleaders of the week. We're going to go to the opposite side of the town, and let's take it out to Westwood. They're doing so well out there, and largely because of those cheerleaders. They keep them fired up, pumped up. Congratulations to our cheerleaders out at Westwood High School. do a very good job. And that team.
Easy to cheer for a winning team.
You know what? Coach Summers got those guys playing very well. Good game coming up too this weekend against Lexington. All right, Jim, now it's time for our players of the week. And of course, I pulled so many stats, so many names. I mean, I could have chosen Alec Kuhn of Spring Valley, 144 yards on 21 carries. Kuhn, great player from that fullback position. Tough guy. I love it. But offensively, I could not have picked Lorenzo Whammy Ward Jr. 178 yards, 14 carries, and 4 touchdowns, plus 3 catches, 36 yards. How could I overlook him, Jim?
Great game,
yeah.
Instrumental in the win over Aiken, and that's a pretty good win for them. Aiken's got a big football team.
No doubt about it. Of course, his dad is the defensive coordinator of South Carolina, and his son is doing big things over at Dreer. Our defensive player of the game is Khalil Hopkins out at Ridgeview. 12 tackles, tackle for a loss, and did he do this right here, Jim? You know what they call that? They call it a scoop and score. Khalil to his house. That's right.
And that's
scoop
a big win for Ridgeview.
Big win for Ridgeview. Now that program is doing well. Look at that, 12 tackles, a fumble return for a touchdown versus Irmo. So congratulations to Khalil Hopkins. You are a defensive player of the game. Again, there are many, many players that we could select and choose from each and every week. And, of course, I love to hear from you. Continue to send myself at Pastor Payne, at SC Varsity, some of the names that you feel like, are worthy of this award, because it's a big award.
It is, and there's a lot of kids to choose from, like you said. I mean, and then there's some kids that you could really give it to every week.
Yeah.
I mean, they have big games every week. So choosing an award like this, a player of the week, in any category is tough to do.
All right. Congratulations to all of you. Let's take a break right now, because when we come back, Jim's top 5, did they change? We'll look at his top 5, plus some of the kids around the Midlands that you need to know about as far as recruiting is concerned. SC Varsity's very own Jim Baxter will have that just after this timeout. Now's that time we take a look at Jim Baxter's top 5. We're going to look at some recruits, and of course, could change every week. Jim kind of has been known to mix it up. Did you change your top 5 after?
No change this week.
Really?
No change this week. We had of course, BC was idle, so they weren't going to move up. And the other teams you see, Dutch Fork obviously not going anywhere. They're going to stay at number 1. Westwood continues to roll. They're at number 2. Brooklyn Casey was idle, but the 4 and 5 didn't really do anything to impress me enough to move them over Brooklyn Casey. AC Flora still at number 4, and of course Sumter at number 5. But they've got a tough game this week.
You're a smart guy. I mean, you really are. And I know you've been doing this a long time. The only difference I had in that top 5, I flip-flop Sumter and AC Flora, because I think Sumter, you got to pay attention to Sumter.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're talking 4 or 5, one position, I wouldn't argue that. I mean, I could just as easily put Sumter at number 4 and AC Flora.
You should have.
But I like Brooklyn Casey up at number 3, and we'll see what happens if they get a win over Chapin this week, and depending on how Westwood does against Lexington, we could see a change next week.
So Westwood is at 2, right?
Westwood's at number 2, and they're at Lexington this week. So.
I think based on what you were saying about Lexington, I'm going to say I like Westwood.
Yeah, I like Westwood in this game too.
I don't
think that they're going to have a lot of problems.
Yeah. As far as the Midland recruits, so some of the guys that we need to pay attention to that folks may or may not know about. I want you to highlight a couple of recruits.
Well, one that's impressed me in the last couple of weeks is Dutch Fork quarterback Tate Fant. He had an outstanding game this past week, 6'2", 195 pounds. He was 11 of 17 for 243 yards and 3 touchdowns. And really, from week 0 against Greenwood to where he's at right now, he's a different quarterback. I felt like he was a serviceable quarterback in week 0. He's actually a guy right now that could, you can put the ball in his hands and he can win a game for you. So they've got another weapon other than Matt Colburn. The other guy, Alec Kuhn, fullback at Spring Valley High School, 5'9", 5'10", 185 pounds, blue collar player, tough, hard-nosed player. He's gotten 300 yards in the last 2 games. He's getting some interest from some small schools. He's probably going to be, more of a Division II. Could get some FCS looks from the 1AA guys. And then the third one on the list is Colt Beanbow, offensive lineman from Pillion. He's a 6'2", 280-pound kid. He was third-team All-State for scvarsity.com in the preseason, and he's getting some looks for, from some small schools as well. He's probably going to be an FCS player. Graded out 97% this past week. Had 2 pancakes and 2 knockdowns. 97% grade out. That's high for an offensive lineman. I don't know what kind of grading they're doing, but that's pretty good.
I don't think I've graded 97% ever since I was playing sports. But you know what? Congratulations to, because beating ball, because we had a Garrett Beatonbaugh that should do weather here now in Jacksonville. I wonder if there's any relationship there. But this has been great. I mean, I'm loving overtime what we're doing. Again, if you got any requests, please let us know at SC Varsity, at Pastor Payne, at Watch Fox, Players of the Week, Band of the Week, Cheerleaders of the Week. You want us to come and see you, hit us up, because we're interested in coming to your school to highlight your programs there. It means a lot to us. But the game of the week again, BC, Chapin, Coach Sharpie coming off a bye week. Chapin lost last week to Newberry. Predictions?
I like Brooklyn Casey on the road. I think, they got a good defense, and Chapin turned the ball over. Had 3 interceptions last week, and they've got to take care of that. If they don't take care of the football, this could be an ugly game.
I got to go with Coach Sharpie as well. I think they win this ball game. Sorry, Coach Gentry. I think you guys are doing an excellent job. You're 3-1. Lost a tough one to Newberry. Kind of went back and forth in that ball game. But I think BC just, day. Amaker. That's all I'm going to say. Day Amaker is a playmaker, and I like the secondary guy, the guy that's a ball.
What's funny about this is you're a defensive guy, but you like BC's offense.
I do.
I'm an offensive guy, and I like BC's defense.
No, but, I love it, man. I love all the players. I really do. Don't forget, you can catch all our highlights on Friday night. We're the first ones to show them right here on Watch Fox. 1st and 10 with Derek Phillips. You can catch that and see those highlights before anybody else, because we are on earlier. So, but we got your breakdown. We have your highlights on 1st and 10, and we'll come back and do it again all next week. Real quick before we go, I got 15 seconds. I got to take Westwood over Lexington. You like Westwood over Lexington.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's another key game to watch, and I like the Red Wolves. The Red Hawks, what are they?
Red Hawks.
Red Hawks. I don't know all the mascots. All right, we got to get out of here. Enjoy the show. For Dana Fulton, the Weather Girl, for Jim Baxter, I'm the Pastor Payne. Corey Miller, you've been watching Overtime. See you next week.